Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Definitely appreciate the support. We're going to get into motion and shifting. I've never made a video on motion and shifting, and it's kind of funny. I remember last year's meta with Madden. A lot of players would do a lot of motioning and all types of stuff, and I think they do that really to kind of mess, at least back then, they would do it to manipulate the AI of the game. There really was no rhyme or reason to it in regards to from a strategic standpoint, from the X's and O's. It was really more so, I think, to kind of like manipulate the AI. Obviously, you guys know I'm not about that. But I want to get into why you motion. Well, not motion in this video. It's more so to shifting. And I think, this will kind of add another element to a lot of people's games if you incorporate this in your offense to see, some of the reasons why you may want to do it. And I'm going to have clips of Mike Martz and Aaron Rodgers going over this stuff. Now, shifting and motioning is really the antithesis of what I like to do. I'm more of a no-huddle, 2x2, 3x1 set type of guy. You guys know I model my game after Peyton Manning, no huddle, read the defense, go from there. All right, so, if you ever watch his games, there really wasn't a lot of motioning at all with their offense or shifting, okay? It was more up-tempo, all right? Well, I want to step out of my comfort zone and incorporate shifting in the offense and start playing ranked games. And, whenever I have the time to kind of climb the ladder, I think it would be really cool videos to make. All right. So in the last video, obviously I'm in the Commander's Playbook, guys. I went over the line passing concept from this formation. I believe it was gun empty base. All right, and I went over this concept on this side of the field, but I'm going to add to this play. All right, this is how you kind of build a scheme. I'm going to add to this play. I'm going to incorporate shifting to it. All right. Now, why would we shift? First of all, I want to take a look at something. We got gun empty base. Some may not know this. All right, if you do, just use the timestamps. All right, but I think this ties into one of the reasons why shifting can be so powerful, right? What do they mean by base? Gun empty is the formation, but what do we mean by base? All right, base is simply talking about the personnel. All right, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, right? Your base personnel was 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 backs. That was your base personnel. You had a fullback. All right, the game has changed. Now, the fullback position is damn near non-existent now. And your base personnel is really 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 back. All right. So, in this game, gun empty base in this particular playbook, it's really talking about the personnel when we get about base. So we're coming out with 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 back. We're putting our tight end here, and we're putting our back here. All right, and the rest are wide receivers. Now, the next question you may ask is, well, why would you do that, right? Why would you come out in an empty set like this, which would probably be more beneficial for speed, like 4 wide receivers at least? Why would you come out with a base personnel and spread out like this, right? What would be the benefits of this? All right, so maybe I can throw some nuggets at you and we can get rolling with this video. So I got a couple of screenshots here, which should move me along here. All right, and first and foremost, in real life, when you're on defense, you're waiting to make your call. You know what personnel that they're going to come out in, right? We see that they're going to come out in 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. So, in essence, what you do is, okay, we're going to come out in nickel to match that. We're going to have, corners on the wide receivers. We're going to have linebackers on the tight end and running back. We're going to come out in nickel. And I'm going to call cover 2. All right, where real life and Madden are different in this aspect is, in Madden, you know what formation that they're going to come out in before they line up. In real life, that is not the case, right? You only know the personnel in real life. Okay? Now, there's a reason why Madden does this. I'm not going to get into this. I don't have a problem with them doing this, right? But let's move on to the next screenshot and show you one of the benefits of coming out in a formation like gun with base personnel, right? Because in real life, and I have it here, when you come out in your personnel, hey, we're going to line up with 3 wide receivers, right? one back and one tight end, right? You didn't line up yet, so they come out in nickel, right? Because they want to match the personnel. They want to have linebackers on the tight ends and backs. You know, because they're thinking you may come out in a single back type of running back formation. You want to have linebackers in the box, whatever, right? And then you line up in this. So now you have that linebacker who's forced to come out in space. Linebacker here, right? Because we match the personnel. And here's one of the reasons. There's plenty of reasons why you may come out in, you know, gun with the gun empty with the base personnel. It's because you know they're going to match your personnel with linebackers on your tight ends and backs, and they're going to be forced to play out in space when you line up in this formation. Now the problem with Madden is when you call gun empty base, I see that you're coming out in gun empty base, as we saw in the earlier screen, right? So what I can do is, well, why would I come out in nickel and have linebackers have to defend out in space? Those guys are, you know, more box type players, and we have them out there to deal with, you know, potential run issues. But you're not going to run the ball from gun, right? So why not come out in dime and have a dime back or a corner dealing with the running back in space as opposed to the linebacker? And that's one of the things you can do in Madden, because you know what formation that they're going to come out in, and they come out in a base personnel. I can now play a personnel like dime or quarters or whatever, because I know you're not going to run the ball, and I'm going to have an advantage against you having, you know, corners against running backs in space or tight ends in space, etc., who are better athletes in space as opposed to linebackers. Okay, so you may say, okay, well, why would you come out in gun empty base in Madden if your opponent knows that they can now just play dime or quarters or whatever because they're unafraid of the run, right? And that's where you can get into shifting, right? So I want to give you the difference between motioning and shifting. Motioning is where, you know, one player goes into motion, right? And you can snap the ball as long as he's running horizontally, right? You cannot snap the ball if he's running vertically, right? It's only horizontally, and you can have one player in motion. Shifting is where you have two or more players moving pre-snap to a different position. Now, the difference between motioning and shifting is we can snap the ball. Like, let's say this guy goes in motion here. We can snap the ball at any point during this motion. But if we were shifting, we had two players going in motion, we cannot snap the ball. You have to wait till both players are set for at least 1 second. And then after that full second, then you can snap the ball, right? So that's the difference between motioning and shifting. Pretty sure there's other subtle differences, but that's the major ones. All right, so I want to get into shifting.
What are some of the things?
And here I have a video. Didn't know that was coming in so quick. I have a video where I grabbed a clip. I'll leave a link to the creator that you can go and watch the full video if you want. But I got a link to him interviewing Mike Martz, and I grabbed a section where he asked him a question. Now, Mike Martz was offensive coordinator to the greatest show on turf, and their offense had a lot of motioning and shifting, right? But they didn't do it, obviously, to manipulate, you know, AI or nothing like that. You do it for a reason. And he asked him why you would incorporate a shift or a motion in the game plan. And Mike Martz gave him some answers, but I grabbed one of the answers. So let's go ahead and go over that and take a listen.
What are some of the things you look for when developing your shift package for a week?
When we did our film study, we went and we looked at, you know, once we moved the tight end, there are so many teams in the National Football League that would flip the whole front. It was ridiculous. But once we see you doing that, it's going to be a circus. It's going to be a fire drill for you. And we just made it miserable for you then. So they've got to get shifted over, get lined up again. Then all of a sudden the ball snapped and they're getting their hand on the ground. The safeties haven't finished rocking or changing. They change, and then all of a sudden the receiver goes back to the other side. Now they got to decide whether to send force back or not send force back. They're motioning the back out of the backfield to a two receiver side, or the single receiver set. How are they going to account for them? They bring the safety down, they move the linebacker out. So all those questions we would ask during the course of the week, we would try to predict how they would respond to all these things.
So, I mean, that's just a couple of reasons and why he would incorporate shifts. All right. But, you know, one of the reasons is you can get them to line up incorrectly. And they run into a lot of issues. He did it to influence the force run fit defender among a lot of different reasons. All right. But we can see, let's see how we can kind of incorporate some shifting in the game, right? So this is what I've chosen to do from my playbook. So I went and I looked for another formation, and in order to shift, it's just simply audibling to a different formation, okay? Because we get movement from an original formation and we get players to move into the new formation, right? So that's what I would call shifting. But in order to shift, I want to shift into that gun empty base. So I have to pick a formation that matches that personnel, right? So I have to pick a formation that has 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 back. So I found one. I went to Y off trips, where we have obviously our tight end here and our running back here, 3 wide receivers. So I'm going to look for a scheme that I can build out of Y off trips. And then I'm also going to shift into that empty package in certain plays to put my opponent in a lot of hard spots. And I've been playing around with this and I've been having a blast with it. All right. And one reason why I like this formation is, for one, this is a 4x1 set. I haven't made videos on 4x1 sets in regards to offensively, but you know, you can really build a scheme that's damn near unstoppable in this game. And the reason why that is because, again, I hate doing this, but it's really rock, paper, scissors, guys. The theory that I keep going with, right? I keep giving this analogy, but it's just right. Where, you know, if you think about the game, rock, paper, scissors. It's a perfectly balanced game, right? It's 100% balanced. But if you were to take paper out of the game, right, well, then you would make rock infinitely stronger, and you would make scissors infinitely weaker, right? And the reason why that is because, you know, scissors, the component in the game that it counters is not even in the game, right? So it's just that much weaker. And rock, the counter to rock, is just simply not in the game, right? So it's just infinitely stronger. You just make the game imbalanced because you took a part of the game out of it. Now, what do I mean by that is, in Madden, they do not give us the proper tools to deal with 4x1 formations. They don't have proper like push calls incorporated. They don't have a lot of different tools in the toolbox for us to utilize against this. We're kind of limited in so many different ways against formations like this. And because of that, back to that analogy, I'm telling you, if you really wanted to dominate in Madden, the first thing I would do is build a scheme from a 4x1 set. All right, because I know in the game of Madden, you know, you just don't have the tools to deal with a formation like this. Now, is that the reason why I picked this formation to build a scheme off of? No, because I like to be, you know, I like to play like a realistic game. I don't like to utilize stuff that's kind of like overpowered, but I wanted to step in the realm of shifting, and I wanted to start playing with a 4x1 formation. But I'm just telling you, you know, if you really wanted to, you could damn near be unstoppable with a 4x1 set. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. This formation, we can get into formation theory and why this causes a lot of problems. But the benefit of that formation is we can shift into this formation, and we can start running, first of all, this play that I went over in the last video. All right, so that's what I've been doing. Right now in ranked, I'm 17-3, and 2 of my games were DCs. All right, so I finally fixed the DC problem, I believe. All right, but I'm 17-3, climbing the ladder with this new scheme. So this is the first play that I'll briefly go over. You know, I won't go over in this video because it'll be too long. But this RPO Counter Glance Post play from this 4x1 set is just ridiculous. All right, you just have so many options with this play. It's a beautiful play. We're running counter, and we have the glance route on the back side, and we have pass options to the front side as well. And it just puts so much stress on the defense here, where you kind of force your opponent to have to play single high. All right, so I want to see what else I have here. You know, I went, you know, I think I went with this formation, obviously because of personnel. I want to shift into gun empty base. All right, but I went through this formation. I just saw so many plays in here that I loved. And when I saw this, I was just in love because I love the glance route in RPOs. If you don't know where you would utilize the glance route, it's really to put a third level run fit defender in a conflict. I think I made a video on the glance route. I will make a video on this particular play later, so I will go over this. All right, I love that aspect of the play. I love the counter aspect of the play. I love the fact that we are not blocking the front side second level defender. We're leaving him unblocked, and what he does dictates whether or not we're going to throw front side with this action here. It's a lot to think about with this play, but you could be damn near deadly with this play. And then when you add in some of the other plays on top of that from this formation is nuts. So one thing I got to give hats off to Madden 25 is the play design in this Madden is the best that they've ever had. I can go in any playbook and I see a lot of different plays in there. It's kind of exciting play design, right? So we get this little return action here, and we run the Hink passing concept here. We got an RPO alert flat here. Everything looks the same. Now we got a high-low read on the corner here to the flat. Burst corner and a flat route. All right, and this is the second play I'm going to go over, RPO X close duo bubble. When I saw this, this was icing on the cake. When I saw the glance post, I was like, all right, I'm going to run this formation and tie it with the empty. And then when I saw duo, I was like, this is just, to me, it's just a beautiful set of plays here in Y-off trips. Okay, because I love the duo running concept, and we're running an RPO action off of that here. All right, and it has X close to where we are inserting the wide receiver off of the tackle. All right, and then off of this, we also have a play action that I will go over as well. So I've been just dominating opponents with these plays on offense. And, you know, when you run this play, to me, the way I run it, you know, I look to see if it's double high or single high first off. If it's double high, then you know, you have a lot more options than running the ball because it's a soft box. You can put a lot of pressure on the second level with the front side concept here, or we can run the ball. The only time where, you know, I kind of check out of this play is where the front is not inviting for this particular play, so we check out of it. And this would be one of the times, right? So I'll go ahead and play it, you know, because I don't want to go too in depth with this play. And okay, so I know what I'm doing here. Now I'm shifting. I'm going to shift into gun empty. So it's just an example where, you know, I was going to run this play. I didn't like this particular front to run it in. So I'm like, you know what? I can shift into our empty, and you will see, if you start incorporating this stuff, you will see a lot of players start to dance in the back line here because it's something that they just don't expect. When you come from a formation where, you know, there's a running strength of the formation, you run it a lot from a particular formation, and then you shift into empty, a lot of players don't know what to do, and they start to panic in the back end. Okay, and one of the reasons why you may want to shift, obviously, is because we force them to match the personnel, so we get linebackers into space, right? But also you get players out of position, right? So when we shift into empty here, right away we see that there's a positioning problem here, especially if this guy blitzes, right? We have someone's not over the second wide receiver here, which is the back. All right, so this is me fiddling around with the scheme. First off, I'm way more polished with it now. So like looking at this now, I would have changed this up. This is me playing around with it in game. I probably would have went to like a double out or double hitch. Here would have been better, right? But I'll get into the scheme later. See, I would have liked double hitches there. But this was me playing with the scheme, and I've been thoroughly enjoying shifting from this formation into gun empty, right? So here I see some issues here. I could have ran it, but I just wanted to shift here. This is like my first game playing around with it. And okay, what's the reads here, right? So you shift to this, and we snap right away because, again, the play I went over with this lion to the left and stick to the right, you know, the concept is so simple. Once you run it 15, 20 times and you know how to run it, you know, we can shift into this and snap it right away. We don't have to make any changes in our play. All right? Yeah, a lot of people, they have, you know, a scheme where they're constantly hot routing and changing up the entire play to make it fit how they want. But if we run plays to where we just snap the ball right away because we know how to run the concept that it's being called, you know, it's kind of harder to defend against you, right? So again, double high, we're running line. So now we're going to work the line concept. We're just going to read the second defender in. If he plays underneath this slant, then we throw backside slant. If we beat him inside with the slant, then we hit it right away. All right, so definitely check out my concept on the line passing concept. So we shifted to that. All right, I should throw that first slant every single time, and I do. So I want to get into some more benefits as to why you would shift, and Mike Martz, he gets into detail about this.
When I see a team that's going to blitz you, well then, if they can get lined up right on the snap of the ball, God bless them. Because the zone dogs, all that stuff's predicated on strength. We'll change strength at least twice before that ball gets snapped and make you. There are times when they're bringing a guy and the popper's going out on the wrong side. You know what I mean? So that's why we did it, and trying to take control and put the defense on their heels. And for the most part, it's pretty effective. What we want to do is get you into a vanilla defense. Say, hey, I'm not dealing with that now. Once we know the defense, now we can go to work on it. You know, what we want to do is get you into a vanilla defense. Say, hey, I'm not dealing with that now. Once we know the defense, now we can go to work on it. You know?
So that's one of the main things why I utilize this particular scheme of shifting. All right, there's a lot of different reasons why you would do it, but the main reason why I do it is to get players out of position. All right, and obviously to attack personnel, right? Because when we come out in this particular personnel in this formation and you match the personnel, and then we shift to empty, well, now you got linebackers defending in the space. Okay, and then also, you know, another benefit to this is, you know, blitzing, you got to be lined up right when it comes to blitzing. He briefly went over it in that video. Definitely go check it out. All right, I can't make this video too long. All right, but, you know, it's really hard for you to disguise your coverage against an empty set. All right, and, you know, when you get into empty, you kind of force your opponent to show their hand. All right, they can disguise coverage, but you can hurt them if they're out of position, if they are disguising coverage while in empty. I think it's easier for you to do that from empty as opposed to like a close type set. All right, so what I've noticed is when players try to blitz me from this particular formation, when I'm hurting them with all of the different run pass option stuff that I have from this formation, what I'll do is I'll come out in this formation, and when I know that they're in some type of blitz, I'll shift into that empty set, and I'll show you clips in how I just shred them to death, right? Because empty puts a lot of pressure on blitz type of defenses. You just gotta know where you're hot and where you're supposed to get rid of the ball. All right. So I think I have one more clip here of Aaron Rodgers. So here I shifted again. I think this is the same play. But I get into, I want to show you a clip of Aaron Rodgers. He had an interview with, he had an interview on a podcast. And this is when he was with the Packers a couple of years ago. And their offense had, you know, motions and et cetera incorporated with it. But Rodgers was not a big fan of the scheme. You know, he was fine with running the scheme. Obviously, he was efficient in it, but he didn't like the weaknesses of a shift type, motion type offense, an offense that had a lot of motion in it. All right. Now I want to go ahead and play the clip as to why he thought that was. All right. And this will kind of maybe hopefully open up somebody's mind as to why, you know, where there is a weakness to an offense that has a lot of motioning and shifting. All right, so I want to go ahead and play it now.
And so that's what I grew up in. I marveled at Peyton Manning during his prime would run all 2x2 and 3x1 formations with no motion. Just because you want to look at it and use this cadence variation to get movement and then be able to go with tempo as well. When you have so much motion, it's hard to get tempo going. You know, it's because you always got to make sure you're set and you got a motion, maybe a double motion, maybe this thing, maybe this adjustment off of it. I just like sometimes, and I tell him the same thing. I'm not telling you guys anything I wouldn't tell him. Got after him today because every freaking play there's goddamn motion. I'm like, can we run one play without a motion and pass so we can get some tempo going? Because I like to switch the tempo.
And that's the main weakness of a scheme like this. When you got a lot of motion and shifting going on, right? It's not like you can line up and just snap the ball, right? So as you can see here, we're in a particular play and, we just audible or shift to our empty set, right? And it takes a lot more time than a no-huddle up-tempo offense, right? So that's why I said earlier, this is more like the antithesis to a no-huddle offense, which is kind of like the opposite of what I like to do. Because, as Rodgers, alluded to, guys got to get set. You got a motion, you got a shift, etc. It's not something that you can get to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball, and go, right? No huddle, let's do it again, and motion it and shift. You can do that in Madden where once you run the play, we can just no huddle again and motion and shift. But I've never seen an offense in real life where they run in no huddle and in every play they're motioning and shifting as well. Right, it's really a slower tempo type of deal when you utilize a lot of motion and shifting. All right, so that would be one weakness to the play, and to some maybe that's not a weakness, maybe that's a strength. You like to slow the game down as opposed to being more up tempo. All right, so I'll leave it at that. Not any gameplay, not too much gameplay in this video, but I think this is kind of like the base video set up to me showing you the scheme that I've put together. And we're going to be in Y-off trips and shifting into gun empty base. Hope you got something from this video. Definitely, I hope you use the timestamps, and I hope you keep coming back for more MPs.